Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Unique Bio Classes based on NCERT syllabus for PUC first and second year. If you like my channel, please subscribe, share, hit the bell icon so that you can get notifications as soon as videos are getting uploaded. Okay, so we shall start today's class. In my previous video we were talking about pollination and we have stopped in the agents of pollination. As you can find here, we were talking about agents of pollination. In agents of pollination we said two different types of agents. One is abiotic, another one is biotic, right? So here in abiotic we have said about wind and water. Another one biotic is animals, right? So we shall proceed further. So in my previous video we have discussed about this also. In biotic and biotic there are some of the pollination names. If pollination is taking place by wind or air, we call it as Anemophilly. If it is taking place by water, we call it as Hydrophilly. If by animals, Zoophilly, bats, Chiropterophilly, birds, Ornithophilly, snails and slugs, Myremacophilly, ants, Myremacophilly, insects, Entamophilly. Okay, we have discussed all about this in my previous video. So we shall proceed with the first one, that is Anemophilly. Anemo means wind, so wind pollination. Okay, so we shall see about this in your textbook. In your textbook you have this paragraph in pollination. In this you will find that there is a pollination by wind is more common amongst abiotic pollinations. Is it in abiotic most common is wind pollination, and in this wind pollination you will find wind pollination requires pollen grains. It requires that the pollen grains are light. Okay, here some adaptations will be there in different types of pollinating plants. So pollen grains will be light and they are non-sticky. They are light and non-sticky means they will be not heavy, and they will be non-sticky so that easily they can blow away or flow away in the wind. Okay, so that they can be transported in wind currents. This will be the first point. If you wanted to make in points, you can find as like this: pollen grains are light and non-sticky so that they can be transported in wind currents. Second one, they often possess well exposed stamens, which means they do have well exposed stamens. Stamens are long and they are releasing so that the pollens are easily dispersed into wind currents, so that pollen grains are released easily in the wind. Okay, this you can mention it as second point. Okay, then you have third one, large often feathery stigma. Stigma will be large and it will be feathery so that it can trap the pollen grains which are present in the wind current. So it is large often feathery stigma to easily trap airborne pollen grains. Okay, so this will be the third point. Next, wind pollinated flowers often have a single ovule in each ovary. Okay, one ovule in each ovary, and numerous flowers, which means many number of flowers packed into an inflorescence. So this you can make it as single ovule in each ovary. This will be the fourth point, and numerous flowers packed in an inflorescence, this will be a fifth point. Okay, example, they have given an about example, the corn cob, the tassels. Okay, the tassels you see are nothing but the stigma and style which wave in the wind to trap pollen grains. The corn cob tassels will be something like this. You might have seen corn. Okay, you might have 8 corn, so in that you might find that a small grass like structures on that, but actually those are nothing but part of a flower, but after fertilization it has become that corn seeds. But how it appears earlier before fertilization, it will be something like this. For this we call it as corn cob tassels. Okay, these are the long tassels, and this help to wave in the wind. These tassels will help into wave in the wind, and these have many number of flowers on that so that it can release the pollen grains and get the pollen grains. And especially these tassels will be present in the male flower, very few in a female flower. Okay, the corn cob tassels are nothing but the stigma and style which wave in the wind to trap the pollen grains. Okay, so if it is a female flower, then these tassels will trap the pollen grains which are moving through the wind. So for that reason, to wave it has this long tassel. Okay, wind pollination is quite common in grasses, which takes place in wind pollination takes place in grasses. Now this kind of points, this kind of sentences will be used in entrance exam, like wind pollination is common in what kind of plants. So it is grasses. With this you can find some more examples like coconut, date palm and zea mays. In this also there is a wind pollination. Okay, this is complete wind pollination information in your textbook. Okay, After this, we have about water pollination, that is hydrophilly. About hydrophilly, you have in your textbook, you can find. Okay, pollination by water is quite rare in flowering plants. Is it? Pollination by water, it is rare and is limited to about 30 genera, which means it is limited to only 30 genus. Mostly it includes monocots. Okay, as against this, you would recall that water is a regular mode of transport for the male gametes among the lower plant groups such as algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. You have studied about this one in first year, that it requires water for transportation of gametes such as algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. It is believed, particularly for some bryophytes and pteridophytes, that their distribution is limited because of the need for water for the transport. Is it? Where these bryophytes and pteridophytes, their distribution is controlled. Why? Because they need water for transportation of male gametes and for getting fertilized. Okay, this is the general information which you must know. It might be helpful for your entrance exam or 1 mark question you can get. Okay, further, some examples of water pollinated plants. Some examples are there like Vallisneria and Hydrilla. These are examples of fresh water. Okay, and several marine sea grasses such as Zoostera. So for marine example, sea grasses, in that it is Zoostera. For freshwater, Vallisneria and Hydrilla. Easily you can differentiate, you can make a note of it. Then not all aquatic plants use water for pollination. Is it? All aquatic plants will not use water for pollination. If a plant is living inside the water, then it doesn't mean that it uses water for pollination. Okay, sometimes these plants which are living in the water, the flowers are present outside and the pollination takes place with the help of insects. Okay, so it doesn't mean if a plant is present in the water, then pollination takes place with the help of water only or hydrophily. It might be Entamophilly or by insects. In a majority of aquatic plants such as water hyacinth and water lily, these are the two plants. Water hyacinth you have come across earlier in your first chapter. We said it as water hyacinth is what? It is a terror of Bengal. Okay, water hyacinth and water lily, the flowers emerge above the level of water and are pollinated by insects. In this case, what happens? This is the water. So plant is present something like this and flowers will be floating on the surface of water. Now on the surface of water, when it is floating, the stigma or pollen grains are produced on it. Now insects will bring about the pollination with the other flower. Insect will bring not the this one hydrophilly nor water pollination. Okay, this kind of pollination also you can find the plants which are living in water. About that only it has been given. Water hyacinth and water lily, the flowers emerge above the level of water and are pollinated by insects or wind, as in most of the land plants. Okay, now this sentence can be asked, name the plants which are living in water but they undergo different pollination. Okay, in Vallisneria, now Vallisneria we said it is nothing but a freshwater plant. In Vallisneria, female flower reach the surface of water by the long stalk. Okay, and the male flower or pollen grains are released onto the surface of water. They are carried passively by water currents. So about Vallisneria, they have asked the question. So now this is the plant. Okay, we shall see. This is the plant. Vallisneria plant is something like this. Male flower is present on the surface of water and female flower is present inside the water. Okay, this kind of plants will be present inside the water. Now this flower, female flower, it is having a long stalk. Okay, in this what happens, the flower will reach to the surface of water with the help of getting uncoiled. The long stalk will get uncoiled and reach above the surface of water. Now this is the female flower and this one is the male flower. Now in this what happens, it takes place pollination on the surface of water with the help of water. With the flow of water current, the pollen grains will reach to the female flower. Once again I am showing here, this is the male flower present on the surface of water and female flower is present inside the water. Okay, in Vallisneria. Now when pollen grains are matured, are able to release, then this female flower, when it is mature, then with the help of its long stalk which is coiled, it will get uncoiled and reach to the surface of water, and pollen grains with the help of water will reach to the female flower. Okay, and gets pollinated. This is how it takes place in Vallisneria. Right? Okay, then we shall see about Vallisneria. They have asked how does the pollination takes place in Vallisneria. Next, some of them eventually reach the female flower and the stigma. Okay, some pollen grains will reach and they will get reach to the stigma and get fertilized. In another group of water pollinated plants such as sea grasses, okay, sea grasses we said it is a marine plant. Okay, sea grasses, female flowers remain submerged in water and the pollen grains are released inside the water. Okay, so in this case what happens, male flower is present on the surface of water and a female flower is present inside the water. Now here what happens, male flower will release the pollen grains and that pollen grains will reach the female flower. Here it is not like that, as we have said in this Vallisneria, where this long stalk is there and it will come out, female flower will come out on the surface of water and then pollination takes place. Here female flower is present inside the water only, male flower will release pollen grains and those pollen grains will reach to the female flower and get pollinated. Not all pollen grains will reach, hardly few can reach, and in every case not all pollen grains will reach, hardly few pollen grains will reach, in that one will get fertilized. Okay, so we shall see further. Pollen grains in many such species, okay, in this kind of species pollen grains are long, ribbon like, and they are carried passively inside the water. Okay, they are long, species are long, ribbon like, and they are carried passively inside the water, so that easily they can ribbon shape, so that with the currents of water it can be transported. Some of them will reach the stigma and achieve pollination. Is it? As I said, not all will reach to the stigma, some of them will reach to the stigma and undergo pollination. Water pollinated species pollen grains are protected from wetting by mucilaginous covering. They have a mucilage covering on the pollen grain. Where? Which pollen grain? The one which is getting water pollinated. In water pollinated species pollen grains, it is protected by mucilaginous covering. You can get one more question. How do pollen grains of water pollinated plants are protected? They are protected by wetting by mucilaginous covering. Okay. With this, I have here still more information about hydrophilly. Okay, what you have in textbook, other than that some more information I have. By mistake I wrote here it as Anemophilly, please oblige that. I have made it as clumsy, and because I am not well nowadays, so that's why I'm unable to upload the videos, and I was not interested again to make a remake of this and make a neat note of that. So please oblige that, and hope you will concentrate on what points are there, not on that what mistakes I did. Okay, hope you will do that. Now this is extra information of hydrophilly. In hydrophilly, pollen grains are light. Okay, here as we said about Anemophilly, pollen grains are light like that. Here also they are light, they are not heavy, and covered with the wax. Why they are covered with the wax? So that it should not get wet in the water. Second point about hydrophilly, stigma is sticky. Okay, stigma will be sticky. Why it will be sticky? So that it can catch that pollen grain and it will get stick to that stigma, but unwettable. Okay, stigma is sticky, but it won't get wet because of mucilaginous covering. Next, scent, color, nectar is absent. Okay, there is no odor, color is not there, nectar, the food which is provided by the flowers for the insects or some other, that is absent. Why? Because here water does not require all this. All these are to attract insects or animals. So this it undergoes, this kind of flowers undergoes water pollination or wind pollination. That does not require all this. Next, flowers are small and inconspicuous. Okay, flowers are small. Inconspicuous means not very clear. Conspicuous means clear. Okay, inconspicuous is not very clear. They are small and not that clear as you can find insect pollinated flowers. Sepals, petals or perianth are unwettable. They are unwettable. Why? Because of waxy coating. They have a waxy coating on that, so they are unwettable. Okay, this is some extra information about hydrophilly. Okay, with that some more extra information I have for you all. Here they have given one sentence. Let me read out. Both wind and water pollinated flowers are not very colorful and do not produce nectar. What would be the reason for this? Because for wind and water, they are not getting attracted towards the pollen grains, not towards the flower. So that's why they does not require nectar nor color. It is used for attracting insects. Okay. Now here we have two types of hydrophilly. One is Hypo Hydro and Epi Hydro. I shall mention here. There it is very light, so I shall mention types of hydrophilly. Hypo Hydro type, and second one is Epi Hydro hydrogamous type. Okay, hypohydrogamous type and epihydrogamous type. In hypohydrogamous type, this one, hypo means above, hypo means below, epi means above. Okay, so here hypohydrogamous type, in that pollination below the surface of water. When pollination takes place below the surface of water, we call it as hypohydrogamous type. Okay, when pollination takes place below the surface of water, we call it as hypohydrogamous type. And epihydrogamous type, what you will say, when pollination occurs above the surface of water. When pollination occurs below the surface of water, hypohydrogamous type. When pollination occurs above the surface of water, epihydrogamous type. Now few examples you only can give. For above the surface of water, we give example of Vallisneria. Is it? Example, Vallisneria. And this one, hypohydrogamous type. This one is in Zoostera, that is sea grasses. Okay, so these are some of the extra points which might be helpful for your entrance. So get the information about these two. Okay, so this is about abiotic pollination, that is wind pollination and water pollination, which complete detail has been given in your textbook, and some other information I have given here. Okay, next you can find in your next page of your textbook this NCERT textbook. As I said, it's an old edition. If you find something new in your new edition, please let me know. I shall make a correction over it. Fine. Majority of flowering plants in a range of animals as pollinating agents: bees, butterflies, then butterflies, flies, beetles, wasps, ants, moths, birds, etc. So many examples are there which they have given. Insects, particularly bees, are the dominant abiotic pollinating agents. Okay, in all those insects, bees are the dominant one in that. Even larger animals are bringing about this, that is primates, arboreal, rodents, reptiles, gecko lizard and garden lizard, etc. These are also involved in the pollination. Okay, so this information you can read out later. Then I shall discuss about this. Often flowers of animal pollinated plants are specifically adapted for a particular species of animal. As there are adaptations in wind pollinated plants and water pollinated plants, there are some adaptations in these two. I shall talk about that. So this is about insect pollination. Okay, so NCERT textbooks will be like that they are not having direct information. We have to search for that, and after searching you will get some information related to it. It is having indirect information, not completely direct. Okay, so insect pollinated flowers are large. Okay, these are large, colorful, they have fragrance, large size, colorful fragrance, which means they are having odor, good odor, and rich in nectar. They are producing nectar, which is the food for insects. When the flowers are small, a number of flowers are clustered. Flowers are small, and these number of flowers, when they are small, they are many in numbers, in clusters, so that they can form an inflorescence, and it makes them into conspicuous, which means because of this reason it will be very clear. Small flowers, but they are many in numbers in one of the inflorescence, and it becomes very clear. Animals are attracted to flowers by color or fragrance. Is it? As I was saying earlier also. The flowers pollinated by flies and beetles secrete foul odors. The flowers which are pollinated by these flies or beetles, they secrete foul odor to attract the animals. Foul odor, as you can find, especially which are especially the flowers which are blooming at the night time, something like that, they are having lot of odors. Okay, so that is to attract this kind of insects. To sustain animal visits, the flowers have to provide reward to the animals. Is it? Nowadays, as you know, it is a give and take trend which is going on. If you are wanted to give your notes, if you wanted to have one notes from your friend, then that friend will say, if you want this notes, then you can share that notes with you. Is it? There will be an exchange offer with each other. So here also, if flower has to get pollinated, then it has to give a reward to the pollinator. It might be insect or it might be other animal. Okay, what will be that reward? Here, nectar and pollen grains are usual floral rewards. Okay, nectar and a pollen grain will be usual floral rewards. For harvesting the reward from the flower, the animal visitor come in contact with the anthers and stigma. The body of the animal gets a coating of pollen grains, which is generally sticky in animal pollinated flowers. Okay, you have this information here, you can go through that one later. Is it? But to get this reward, nectar and pollen grains, insects will come to the flower and when it is coming to the flower to get this reward, these pollen grains will get attached to its body, and to get reward from another flower, when insect reaches to the another flower, then these pollen grains will get dropped on its stigma. So this is how pollination brings in this insect pollinated flowers. Okay, this is some information. I shall give a clear cut information of some of the pollinations as I gave about hydrophilly. So you have here again it's quite clumsy, just oblige that as I said earlier. Okay, handwriting is also not good. Okay, fine. Entamophilly is nothing but insect pollinated flowers. They are having some following features. First one is flowers are with fragrance, as we have studied that one, just saying that one in your textbook. Flowers are with fragrance, scent and odor. Flowers are beautifully colored. Okay, they do have color. Nectariferous glands are present so that it can produce nectar. These glands will produce nectar which are present in these flowers, and pollen grains are sticky, spiny, so that it can get attached to the body of an insect. Stigma are sticky, conspicuous flowers. Same points you have in your textbook also. I have given in this kind. Whichever you want, feel convenient, you can mention that. Next, I have some more information of Ornithophilly. Ornithophilly is nothing but related to birds. When birds are bringing about the pollination, the flowers are without scent. They does not have a scent. A large size colored flowers. Is it? Flowers are of large size and they are colored. Mucilaginous nectar will be present, and pollen grains are sticky. Okay, a mucilaginous nectar. This nectar is especially hummingbird. Hummingbird you might have heard. This hummingbird will carry nearly half of its body with nectar in a single day. Okay, so half of the body of the hummingbird will carry nectar. What will be the body weight of the if we are taking it as 2 grams or 200 grams will be the body weight of the hummingbird, and approximately, or generally I am saying, not exactly, 200 grams will be the weight of the hummingbird in a single day. Okay, it will carry 100 grams of nectar. Okay, half of the body weight of the hummingbird will carry nectar in a single day, which means so much of nectar it requires, and so many flowers it has to reach to get so much of nectar. Okay, this is about some Ornithophilly flowers. Next you have Chiropterophilly. If you remember, Chiropterophilly, it is about bad pollinated flowers. Chiropterophilly, freely exposed, large and relatively tough flower and open in night or evening. Okay, they are flowers are freely exposed, they are large size and they have tough flower and open in night or evening. Nectar is produced in plenty. Okay, they produce lot of nectar. Okay, these are bringing about pollination nearly 30 kilometers together. These bats can bring about pollination 30 kilometers far plants also. Okay, bats transfers a long distance pollen nearly up to 30 kilometers. Okay, this is about Chiropterophilly. Some information which I wanted to give, this information is here. Okay, now I shall proceed further from your textbook. Here some information has been given. In some species, floral rewards are in providing safe places. As we said, floral reward will be nectar and a pollen. In some species, it is provided by safe places to lay eggs. Okay, to lay eggs, insects or animals will reach to these flowers. So, for example, the tallest flower is Anemophilly. Anemophilly is the tallest flower. The flower itself is about 6 feet in height. You can name the tallest flower. Okay, so it is the Anemophilly. When they are talking about tallest flower, then smallest flower is Wolffia microscopia and largest flower is Rafflesia. This information you don't have in your textbook here. Okay, so smallest flower is Wolffia microscopia. And one more, largest flower is Rafflesia. Okay, largest flower Rafflesia, smallest flower Wolffia microscopia, tallest flower Anemophilly, which is of 6 feet in height. You have to remember this, which one is the tallest flower. Okay. A similar relationship exists between the species of moth. So if you find here, they have given about a moth and a yucca plant. Moth and yucca plant. Okay, here moth, what does it does? Where both the species moth and yucca plant cannot complete their life cycle without each other, which means both are dependent on each other. The moth deposits its eggs in the locule of the ovary and the flower. In turn, it gets pollinated by the moth. The larvae of the moth come out of the eggs in the seeds that starts developing. Okay, so the yucca plant, it will produce a flower, right? So when it produces a flower, these moths will use this yucca plant to protect its egg, a safe place to lay eggs. Okay, so in the locules of the ovary and in the flower, this moth will start to lay eggs. Okay, when it will lay eggs, it will get protected. These eggs are getting protected, and they will get nourishment as this flower will get fertilized and it will get converted into a fruit. Okay, so then now this flower, which one? Yucca plant's flower, that is getting pollinated only by moth, which means yucca plant is dependent on moth for fertilization. Now moth is dependent on yucca plant to lay eggs so that it can reproduce, so that it can continue its generation. So both are dependent on each other. Okay, without this could not live, without this moth could not live, right? So this is how they are having interrelationship. For this kind of interrelationship, we call it as mutualism, where both are getting benefited. Okay, in mutualism, both will get benefit from each other. Now without each other, it could not complete its life cycle. Moth, what it does, it will lay eggs in the ovary or in the locules of the ovary, and in the flower, yucca plant, in this case yucca plant will get pollinated, because in search of place, moth will reach here. It can get this pollen grains can get attached to the moth's body, and this moth will reach to the another flower of yucca plant in search of place or to lay eggs or something. Then again it gets pollinated, right? This is how it brings about pollination. So this is about this information about yucca plant and a moth. Okay, you have other information also, you just cover it. Next, many insects may consume pollen or the nectar. Is it? As we said, insects, animals, they require a reward in the form of nectar, in the form of safe place, in the form of pollen grains. Okay, similarly, many insects may consume pollen or the nectar without bringing about pollination. Without bringing about pollination, they are consuming this pollen or nectar, which means they are cheating that flower. Okay, such floral visitors are referred as pollen or nectar robbers. We don't have robbers only in human beings, even we have in the animals, pollen or nectar robbers. What does they do? Why does these plants are providing this rewards, pollen or the nectar? Why they are providing? So that insect or an animal can bring about pollination. But here some smart animals are there, some smart insects are there. These insects, they are reaching to the flower, they'll consume the nectar, they'll get the pollen, they'll consume the pollen, but they don't bring about the pollination. Okay, that kind of visitors we call it as pollen or nectar robbers. Okay, so if you this is about today's class. If you have any doubts in my class, then you can please comment it in the comment box. I can give a reply for that. And then if you have any other suggestions, that also you can comment it in the comment box. Okay, in my next video I shall discuss about the next outbreeding devices. Very important question, 5-mark question. Now in today's class, what I have discussed in that all are very important about any of those. It might be of water pollination, it might be of wind pollination or insect pollination, or any of the pollination. All are important, all have been asked. Just you take some question papers, you will get that questions and you will be able to answer. Okay, so I hope we'll meet in our next video soon. As I said, I am not keeping well for a few days, so that's why I am unable to upload the videos. So hope I'll get well soon and upload the videos upload the videos early, and we shall meet in the next video. Stay safe, stay healthy.